Hello, welcome, thanks for watching. This is part 2 in a series on Habakkuk. Part 2, we will see Habakkuk's second complaint and the Lord's answer to that. In part 1, we saw his first complaint and the Lord's answer. Here, chapter 1, verse 12 through chapter 2, verse 1, that's Habakkuk's second complaint, and then chapter 2, verses 2 through 20, so the rest of chapter 2, that's the Lord's answer. So I'm going to read to you, and then I'll talk about it. O Lord, you are not from, or are you not from everlasting? O Lord, are you not from everlasting? My God, my Holy One, we will not die. O Lord, you have appointed them to execute judgment. O Rock, you have ordained them to punish. Your eyes are too pure to look on evil. You cannot tolerate wrong. Why then do you tolerate the treacherous? Why are you silent while the wicked swallow up those more righteous than themselves? You made men like fish in the sea, like sea creatures that have no ruler. The wicked foe pulls all of them up with hooks. He catches them in his net. He gathers them up in his dragnet, and so he rejoices and is glad. Therefore he sacrifices to his net and burns incense to his dragnet. For by his net he lives in luxury and enjoys the choicest food. Is he to keep on emptying his net, destroying nations without mercy? I will stand at my watch and station myself on the ramparts. I will look to see what he will say to me and what answer I am to give to this complaint. That's Habakkuk's second complaint. Now, in part 1, we saw that Habakkuk was what Habakkuk was complaining about and how God was going to deal with that complaint. God's answer led to Habakkuk's second complaint. He didn't want his country taken over. He wondered why God would handle his land's sin by letting another land take over his land, as we see in chapter 1, verse 13. Basically, how can you, God, use a country even more evil than us to punish our evil ways? What's God's answer? Chapter 2, starting at verse 2 and continuing for the rest of the chapter. Then the Lord replied, write down a revelation and make it plain on tablets so that a herald may run with it. For the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. See, he is puffed up. His desires are not upright, but the righteous will live by his faith. Indeed, wine betrays him. He is arrogant and never at rest, because he is as greedy as the grave, and like death is never satisfied. He gathers to himself all the nations and takes captive all the peoples. Will not all of them taunt him with ridicule, scorn, saying, woe to him who piles up stolen goods and makes himself wealthy by extortion. How long must this go on? Will not your debtors suddenly arise? Will they not wake up and make you tremble? Then you will become their victim. Because you have plundered many nations, the people who are left will plunder you. For you have shed man's blood. You have destroyed lands and cities and everyone in them. Woe to him who builds his realm by unjust gain, to set his nest on high, to escape the clutches of ruin. You have plotted the ruin of many peoples, shaming your own house and forfeiting your life. The stones of the wall will cry out, and the beams of the woodwork will echo it. Woe to him who builds a city with bloodshed and establishes a town by crime. Has not the Lord Almighty determined that the people's labor is only fuel for the fire, that the nations will exalt themselves for nothing? For the earth will be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. Woe to him who gives drink to his neighbors, pouring it from the wineskin till they are drunk, so that he can gaze on their naked bodies. You will be filled with shame instead of glory. Now it is your turn, drink and be exposed. The cup from the Lord's righteous hand is coming around you, and disgrace will cover your glory. The violence you have done in Lebanon will overwhelm you, and your destruction of animals will terrify you. For you have shed man's blood, you have destroyed lands and cities and everyone in them. Of what value is an idol, since a man has carved it, or an image that teaches lies? For he who makes it trusts in his own creation. Woe to him who says to wood, come to life, or to lifeless stone, wake up. Can it give guidance? It is covered with gold and silver. There is no breath in it, but the Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth be silent before him. That's the Lord's answer. So God's answer is that God would punish Babylon for its ways also, which includes the fact that they took over lands, including Israel's land. So chapter 2, verses 8, 12, 16, and 17. And the one place you do not want to touch is God's people's land, Israel. God will get you for, and this is governments, God will get you for taking over other lands, but especially Israel, his people. So God was using Babylon to punish Israel for its sins, but then God will punish Babylon for touching Israel and taking lands not their own in such a manner, unlawful, unjustly, through violence and bloodshed. That's how God was handling sin. Allowing Babylon to take over for Israel's sin, then getting Babylon for them taking over in their sin. Habakkuk, as much as he didn't want his lands to be taken over, he trusted God, knowing that God is just, and that's how God decided to handle it. He knew that God knew what God was doing. He knew he could trust God. We can trust God. God is trustworthy. God is just. God is righteous, pure, upright. We can do like Habakkuk and trust God. This was Habakkuk's second complaint, and God's answer to that. Chapter 1 starting at verse 12 and going all the way through chapter 2. I hope this was helpful. There's one more part, chapter 3. We'll see that in the next video. Thanks for watching.